3 times. I survived being hunted when evil follows you home. My name is Sarah. I'm 30 years old now, and I need to tell you about 3 separate incidents where someone decided I was their target. 3 times I came face to face with predators who'd made elaborate plans to hurt me. 3 times I narrowly escaped situations that could have ended in my disappearance. 3 times I learned that the most dangerous people are the ones who watch you without you knowing, the ones who follow you home from school, the ones who stand outside your window in the darkness, the ones who have your name written in a notebook somewhere. If you think this can't happen to you, you're wrong. If you think you'd notice someone following you, you're wrong. If you think your locked doors are enough to keep you safe, you're wrong about that too. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will change the way you move through the world. It will teach you to notice the small details. It will teach you to trust the feeling in your gut that tells you something is wrong. These are the 3 times I survived being hunted. Story 1. The Faceless Man. I was 12 years old when I first saw him. I remember it was a normal school day. Nothing special. Nothing that would suggest that my life was about to change in a way I could never have anticipated. I was getting inside my mom's car when I saw my brother staring at this man. He was standing on the side of the road. I couldn't see his face because he was partially hidden behind a tree, but I could sense he was peeking at us. There was something about the way he was positioned, the way his silhouette was just barely visible, the way I felt his eyes on us. My mom's voice brought me back to reality. "Kimmy, let's go, sweetheart." On our way from school, my mom told me she would go to the airport to pick up Dad. "It won't take more than an hour," she said, "and I need you to be home when I get back. I couldn't get your babysitter on the phone in such a short time." She looked at me with that expression that said she was putting a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. "So, Kimmy, you'll have to be the head of the house for a while. Can you do that, darling?" "Yes, Ma," I said. "I can take care of myself and Charlie." She smiled. "That's my girl. You're so smart." After reaching home, Mom fixed us some snacks and then went to pick up Dad. Our doors had a password locking system. The moment I closed the door, the entire house locked up automatically. My brother Charlie was lying on the couch watching cartoons. I was sitting on the floor making drawings, but I felt weird. A fear that something terrible was going to happen numbed my body. I tried to reassure myself. "All the doors and windows are locked," I whispered to myself. "There's absolutely nothing to be worried about." But the feeling didn't go away. Then Charlie mumbled something that made my blood run cold. "Can you see him?" Who are you talking about?" I asked. "I saw someone outside the window," he said, pointing. I got up and walked over to the window. The streetlight outside was flickering like crazy, and under that streetlight stood this incredibly tall man. He was wearing a black suit and tie. His head was down so I couldn't see his face, but I could see his proportions. He was so tall that his head was inches from touching the top of the streetlight. His arms were dangling on both sides, and he had long fingers. The lengths of his arms surpassed his knees. I felt my stomach drop. Was this the same guy we saw near the school? Charlie was right. This was the guy I'd seen in the afternoon. Which meant only one thing: he had followed us home. He had watched where we lived. He had followed us from school to home. I picked up my binoculars with trembling hands. I focused on him, trying to get a better look at his face. But his head was still down. I watched him for one long moment. Then I backed away from the window, jumping in fright. The binoculars fell from my hand and hit the floor. I looked at my brother. He was also frozen on the couch. "We need to call 911, I said. My hands were shaking as I picked up the house phone and dialed 911. I glanced back at the window, and now the man was standing in the middle of the street. He moved closer to our house. 911. "What's your emergency?" the operator asked. "Someone followed me and my brother home from school," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "He's outside our house now." "Okay, calm down. What is your name?" "Kimmy." "Where are your parents?" "Kimmy. My mom went to pick up my dad at the airport. It's only me and my brother in the house." "Okay, Kimmy, stay with me on the line. The officers will reach you soon. Please hurry. I'm scared." I kept looking out the window during the call, and every time I glanced, the man moved closer to our house. "Kimmy, can you explain to me what he looks like?" the operator asked. I paused. How could I describe what I was seeing? He has no face, I whispered. The operator was silent for a moment. "What do you mean, no face? Does he have a mask on?" "No, his face it's gone. He's tall, very tall. He's wearing a black suit." I kept watching, and my heart stopped. The faceless tall man was nowhere to be seen. "Kimmy, are you still there? What's happening?" I can't see him now. I think he's hiding." I started crying. I was only 12. My brother was 9, and we were alone in a house with a man who had followed us home. Then I heard it. Knocks on the door. Not gentle knocks. Violent, aggressive knocks. "Kimmy, what's going on?" the operator asked. "He's trying to get in," I said. "He's trying to break down the door." The knocking soon turned into violent banging. The door was shaking. The windows were rattling. Whoever was on the other side was using his entire force to break down our front door. "The cops will be there any moment, Kimmy," the operator said. "Just take your brother with you and go to the bathroom. Lock the doors and don't come out until you hear from me. Do you understand?" "Yes," I whispered, but before I could move, a big rock flew through our living room window. The glass shattered everywhere. The rock rolled onto the floor. "Oh my God, he broke the window," I screamed. I ran to my brother. He had started crying out loud. I grabbed his hands and we both started running toward the bathroom. As we ran, I saw something that made my blood freeze. A hand was grabbing the top of the window frame. The fingers were bony and impossibly long. Slowly, a tall leg appeared. Then, an entire body started inserting itself through the broken window. The faceless man was climbing into our home. I didn't look back. I just grabbed Charlie and pulled him into the bathroom. I locked the door and pulled Charlie into the bathtub, covering him with my body. We sat there in darkness. I could hear the man walking around our living room. His footsteps were heavy, deliberate. He was looking for us. For what felt like hours, we sat in that bathtub. Charlie was crying silently. I was holding him, whispering that everything would be okay. The footsteps got closer. Then I heard sirens, the sound of police cars pulling up to our house, the sound of officers running toward our front door. And then the footsteps inside our house stopped. There was a brief struggle, then silence. A police officer called out, "Kimmy, are you okay? You can come out now." We came out of the bathtub slowly. We walked out of the bathroom. The living room was a mess. The window was shattered. There were overturned furniture and broken glass everywhere. But the man was gone. The police had arrived just in time. They took statements from us. They searched the house. They checked the neighborhood. But they never found him. Not that night. Not ever. To this day, I don't know who he was or why he chose us. I don't know if he was a supernatural entity or just a deeply disturbed human being. All I know is that the feeling I had that day never went away. The feeling that something was watching us. Story 2. The Window Watcher. Years later, I thought I was safe. I was 24 years old. I was in college. I had my own apartment. I had my own life. My roommate Jenna and I rented a small house in what we thought was a safe neighborhood. We were both in college, and our side jobs paid us well enough to live comfortably. The house had 2 bedrooms, one at the front and one at the back. The back one was mine because Jenna refused to take it. She said the woods outside the bedroom window gave her goosebumps. I wasn't that easily scared. So I happily agreed. One night around December, I was dead asleep in my bed. Jenna was in the study room preparing for an exam. Heavy snowfall was happening outside. I don't remember why I woke up, but my eyes went straight to the window facing the woods. I never draw my curtains because I like the moonlight coming through the window, and in that pale moonlight I saw a face staring into the room from the other side of the window. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and got up on the bed thinking I was seeing things. But then I saw a man move aside and vanish into the darkness. I couldn't move for minutes after realizing someone was peeking into my room. I told Jenna about it the next morning. She said I was only having a bad dream, but I knew what I saw, and I knew he would come back. As more time went on, things got even more disturbing. He now came to my window every night. He thought I didn't know he was there. He thought he was clever, but I saw him. I felt him. When he watched me, my body went stiff as stone. My heartbeat raced. I started to sweat and my blood ran cold. But I never moved a muscle. Sometimes he put his hands on my window, his breath fogging the glass. Sometimes I could hear him crying. His intentions were sinister. I knew it. This man was twisted. This man was vile. This man wanted something from me. I became obsessed with documenting what was happening. I started keeping a journal. I noted the times he came, the things he did, the sounds he made. One night I heard his whispers. They were too faint to understand, but I knew they were there. I felt the pure evil in his voice. It terrified me, and I hated being afraid. Something had to be done. Last night I took one of my kitchen knives and brought it to bed. I hid it under my pillow. I pulled up my covers and closed my eyes. Listening, waiting. He came to my window. He put his hand on the glass. He began crying. Then I heard my window getting pulled open. He stepped his foot inside my room. He went through my closet and touched my clothes. He pulled up my chair, sat and watched me. I waited. My hand gripped the knife under my pillow. He started humming, "You are my sunshine." He sang softly, "My only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray." His voice was cracked, broken, like he was singing to himself more than to me. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." He stood up and walked around the room still singing, sobbing. He walked to the side of my bed. He leaned down and he kissed me on my cheek. I grabbed my knife from under my pillow, but just then I heard footsteps outside my door. "Oh my God," I whispered. "It's Jenna. No, Jenna, no. Don't come in." The man heard the footsteps too. He rushed to the window and jumped outside. Jenna got in and I started crying. "Call the cops," I begged. "Please just call the cops." The cops investigated the area around the house. They found shoe prints in the snow right next to my window, but there was no evidence to identify the intruder. The cops patrolled the area for 3 nights. On those nights, nothing happened. I thought the man was finally gone. He must have been scared away. But after 3 days, we were again on our own. For safety purposes, Jenna suggested putting a security camera facing my window, so in case he came back, we could catch him. Last weekend, Jenna wasn't home. She stayed back at her boyfriend's house. I had just gotten home and was taking a shower in the bathroom. I was tired. I was washing the stress away with the warm water when I heard a clicking sound. I opened my eyes and someone flashed a camera at me, blinding my eyes. I came out of the bathroom in my bathrobe. I ran straight to my room and locked the door. The man was back, and he'd taken pictures of me in the shower. I felt so unclean, so violated, so terrified. I called 911 and sat on my bed, turning off all the lights in my bedroom. The first 10 seconds, everything was quiet. Then footsteps appeared. They were muffled, yet loud, and they were coming from my window. I watched in horror as the man walked outside my house. He stopped near my window. He placed his hands on the glass, trying to get a good look at my room. For a few seconds, he struggled to accommodate to the darkness. But then he saw me. He looked deep into my eyes, and he smiled. "Open the door," he said in a voice that was calm, but absolutely sinister, "so I can put you to sleep." That was the first time he spoke directly to me. I wanted to scream and cry, but I was too frozen in fear to do anything. He began singing. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." I don't remember how long he went on like that, but I remember collapsing on the floor. The cops later told me I had fainted out of shock. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. The officers had found me in my room unharmed. The man was gone, but they found surveillance footage. He was a married man with a family of his own, 49 years old. Nobody would have ever guessed his sick mind. His name was Robert Cassiner. He was convicted of stalking and criminal trespass, but he served minimal jail time. Last I heard, he was living his life somewhere, with his family, like nothing ever happened. I changed my address. I moved cities. I sleep with my house locked and curtains drawn. But I never forget the feeling of being watched. Story 3. The mirror. This story isn't mine, but it's the one that terrifies me the most. Her name was Jenny. She was 23 years old when she died. She had a boyfriend named Jim. He was obsessed with her. His love was possessive, controlling, suffocating, but she thought it was romantic. She thought it meant he cared. One night they had an argument. Jenny went to dinner with her family instead of staying home with Jim. Jim couldn't handle it. He felt betrayed that she would give her attention to anyone other than him. That night there was a house fire. Jim died in it. Jenny was devastated. She fell into a depression that nobody could pull her out of. Her mother begged her to move on, to get help, to see a therapist, but Jenny couldn't let him go. She bought a mirror that Jim had originally purchased for her from a yard sale. An ornate mirror with intricate designs carved into the frame. She took it to her new house. She hung it on the wall next to her bed. And that's when things got strange. The first night she heard a whisper while taking a shower. "Get me," the voice said. She thought it was Jim. He used to sneak up on her in the shower. That was his way of showing how he couldn't stay away from her for even a second. But Jim was dead. When she got out of the shower, she noticed something odd. Her skin was glowing. The acne that had plagued her for years was gone. Her reflection looked perfect, impossibly perfect. She sat down in front of the mirror and started combing her hair. Her eyes were never so big. They were perfectly still. Her reflection stared back at her like a real person. Hours passed. She couldn't stop looking at herself. Her hands started to hurt. Her eyes got watery, but she couldn't move. She couldn't look away. "Don't look away, Jenny," a voice whispered from the mirror. And she couldn't. She heard her mother come home one day, heard her calling out for her, but she couldn't answer. Days turned into weeks. She sat in front of that mirror, combing her hair, staring at her perfect reflection until her body simply gave out. They found her sitting in front of the mirror, dead. Her body was emaciated. She had starved to death, but there wasn't a single wound on her body. The mirror was still hanging on the wall, waiting. Epilogue, what I've learned. These 3 stories have taught me something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Evil doesn't always announce itself. It watches you from the darkness. It follows you home from school. It stands outside your window singing lullabies. It wears a human face sometimes, or no face at all. Sometimes it comes in the form of love. Possessive love. Love that demands your entire existence. The man who followed me home was never caught. The peeping Tom served minimal jail time, and Jenny's mirror still exists somewhere. I don't know where, but I know it's waiting for someone else to become obsessed with their own reflection. The best thing I can tell you is this: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. If you feel like you're being watched, you probably are. If someone's love feels suffocating, it's because it is. And never ever bring something from your past into your future if that past tried to consume you. Because some things have a way of following us. Some attachments refuse to die. And some reflections in mirrors are showing us something other than ourselves.